I'm glad you touched on education, because one of the things BCS has been championing is a change of the way IT is educated, right from small children to universities, and obviously with things like introduction of a Raspberry Pi, which is an excellent teaching aid, that is now moving. I mean, is it quite difficult to get the right people for the right jobs at the moment because of the way the university has been training in the last several years, or is it getting easier? Are we in a better place than we were, say, a decade ago, when they were really struggling for recruitment?
I think things are getting better. It obviously takes a few years to change. As I said, if it takes 3, 4, 5 years to change a university course, that's a critical thing to do. It's a subject very close to my heart at the moment, because I have 2 teenage sons. So we've been going around looking at what's available in education, and one of them is very wants to pursue a career in IT. But it's quite amusing when you mention some names of vendors that I grew up with, which he has never heard of. Right, which is quite scary, because they haven't been prevalent in the last 15 years. So to answer your question, I think things are improving. It takes time, but there are a lot of, the educational establishments today are highly competitive environments looking to attract the best students, and they know that some of the courses provided today just won't be relevant in a few years' time. So we're seeing a great attitude from some of those establishments, where they are looking to tune their courses by talking to industry, seeing what industry needs as an employer or an employee in 4 or 5 years' time, and trying to change their course accordingly. We're also seeing trends such as, I would call it as an apprenticeship, where perhaps industry would look at a day release or whatever it might be. So they're building a course. The student is actually working in industry and working in IT, because it's moving so quickly. In 3 years' time, it's very different to how it was 3 years ago. So to keep current, we're seeing trends where they're looking at working but also studying, and I think that's always been a really good way to make sure that when a student leaves an educational establishment, they are ready for the market, and they're able to do to move the IT industry forward.
Talking of the IT industry, another pet project of BCS is encouraging professionalism in the IT industry, because obviously, as I was saying to you earlier, the IT industry is a recent industry, 50, 60 years old, compared with doctors or lawyers who are hundreds of years old. They've got their own governing bodies, and you can be struck off if you are found to have been involved in any sort of malpractice. We don't have that in the IT industry. Do you think the government should be encouraging more governments, more rules for the industry, or do you think it should be more of a voluntary code of practice to encourage professionalism in the industry?
I think it's a great thing to actually encourage more professionalism in the industry, and to have more certification. This is just a natural endorsement of an industry that's maturing. We're still adolescent, 50 years old, I think it's a great thing. I think it has to be carefully constructed, what we try and do, and to move things forward. But these are large projects, and there's a huge investment in people and funding. And I think it's important, as we mature, that we raise the bar going forward. So I think it's a great thing.
And our kind of more recent focus is in making IT good for society. That's our new kind of byline, if you like. I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, obviously IT underpins everything we do nowadays. It's become ubiquitous. I mean, you can't move without having some sort of technology affecting your life. What are your kind of general thoughts on that?
I think it's happening anyway, by the simplification of these very sophisticated tools, but keeping them simple at the front end, like your personal phone device. For the greater and the good, I think it's happening. Not sure if it's a conscious thing or an unconscious thing, but something that's complicated or not good for society is not going to be, it's quite Darwinian. The way things are going forward is that it won't be well respected and it won't take off if it's not simple, if it's not good for society, if it's not good socially. Then it simply won't get adopted. If you look, then there's a whole herd mentality out there with the IT society, and you have to be very conscious when you build these products early that it will become a natural thing as they roll out into the industry. So I think for with the good of society, it's a natural thing going forward that will happen. It's a bit like saying, I'm going to build a car, but I'm not going to think about safety and that sort of stuff. You're not going to get it off the ground if you don't make it good for society up front.
And what are you personally excited about technologically that's either coming out shortly or is just coming out in the last sort of 6-12 months?
There's just too many to think about, really, isn't there? I mean, it's how can you predict what's going to happen next? It's still a very exciting place to be in IT. Things are changing rapidly. As I said earlier, if I look at what my sons, what their view of IT is, it's very different to my idea of IT, and I'm sure 10 years from now, that generation will have a different view. So there's not one particular thing that I look at that is going out because things are changing so quickly. I think it's more of that same theme of things are moving much faster, there's more density on what people store, so there's more data available and it's more freely available and quicker to get to. It's just the pace of change is really exciting.